This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek Radio, and I'm with Yvette Felarca, who is a teacher at Berkeley Unified School District. She's a member of the executive board of the Berkeley Federation of Teachers. And Yvette has been put on administrative leave, and this happened after she attended a rally in Sacramento against the Nazis who were rallying in Sacramento. So, Yvette, why don't you talk about, first of all, what happened at that rally and what happened when you came back to start your class here?
So I attended the rally in Sacramento on June 26th as an organizer and member of the Civil Rights and Immigrant Rights Group called BAMN, which is the Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action, Integration, and Immigrant Rights, and Fight for Equality by Any Means Necessary. And we mobilized to the rally with the intention and the goal of making sure that the Nazis and the fascists cannot use it as a platform to recruit, organize, and attack people. And I'm really glad that we did that because there were a lot of people who came out, some with BAM, some with other organizations, who also had the same intention and goal, which is to shut down the rally and make sure that they couldn't go after anybody else. In the process of that, we found ourselves having to defend ourselves from violent, knife-wielding Nazis who stabbed me and at least 8 other people. I know of 9 people altogether who were stabbed by the fascists. We were lucky that none of us was killed in the process. And I was one of the people who was injured who was relatively lucky because I only had 24 stitches instead of requiring surgery, which some people did have to do. After the demonstration and the rally, I gave an interview to several media sources, and the Nazis and fascists then made threats against me and also against the people, the students and the staff at my school. I think that their intention with that was probably mainly to get me fired. I don't think they have the capacity or the actual will or determination to actually kill me or shoot any of the students. But I do know that they figured they could try to mess with my job and use this as a form of harassment. So 2 days later, the school district issued a public statement making clear that they were going to go after me and go after me with some kind of disciplinary action. And 4 days after the demonstration, the school district did take disciplinary action against me. They issued me a discipline. They told me that they planned on docking me about 25 days of pay. And so over the course of the summer, nothing happened for a couple of months. But at the end of August, the district deposited my paycheck, like they always do, through direct deposit. And then the very next day, they withdrew the same amount of money completely from my bank account.
Are they able to do that without your permission?
No, that's completely illegal. It's stealing money from my bank account. And so I went to my union and I organized teachers to join me, to support me, to make sure that my union would support me and file a grievance on my behalf. I'm really glad that my union agreed to file that grievance. And then the same day that I had organized coworkers, teachers and support staff, former students and parents to come speak and support me to get my payback and also to rescind the discipline that had been issued against me in June, the school district placed me on administrative leave. And they pulled me out of a faculty meeting in the middle of the faculty meeting with everybody in the meeting. Told me that I had to clear all my personal belongings from my classroom, turn in my keys, and that I was banned from all school district property indefinitely.
And this fear that a lot of people have is that this Trump movement, the Trump development, is creating more and more incidents, racist incidents, attack on immigrants, and also open organizing by racists and Nazis. Is that your concern as well?
Absolutely. I think that Trump, it's clear he's not going to win the election. I mean, that's my prediction. I think it's a lot of people's predictions. But he's not trying to win the election. He's trying to lead a far right-wing movement that's very dangerous. And so I think it's a huge mistake for even a liberal city like Berkeley with, liberal politicians or officials to think that our response to that should be to just bury that or ignore them. Because that's how the fascists were able to rise in Germany. back in the 1930s. People either didn't understand sufficiently what they were, or they were more afraid of building the movement that was necessary to stop them. And instead, the tragedy and the crimes of history we paid the price for that.
And the unions, the union is backing you. You're on the executive board of the Berkeley Federation of Teachers. But the effect of this might be, if they're successful, to intimidate teachers who do want to organize against the fascists. Do you think that might be one of the purposes, to silence teachers and to create an atmosphere of fear and bullying, that teachers are afraid to speak out about anything and even act on anything?
Absolutely. I think that the district's intention is to bully teachers, other school workers, and the students. And I agree with you, first and foremost, to try to bully anti-racist teachers and students who are activists, to send a message to any of my immigrant students or Black and Latino or anti-racist white students that, don't speak out against racism or the new Jim Crow, because look what happened to this teacher. I think that's their intention. I think also their intention is to try to silence any criticism of the administration's policies in general as well. They have been going through a systematic policy of driving out Black and Latino and immigrant students and families from Berkeley.
And how do they do that?
Well, one, the market, the housing market is doing that in part for them because of just the huge cost and skyrocketing costs of rent. But it's more than that, too. The district has a new policy around requiring new residency qualifications to be able to meet the standards to be able to register your child to go to the Berkeley public schools. And so now they're requiring families to show their name on a lease or their name on a mortgage bill, which, for
a lot of families share.
Yes, exactly.
Just to survive and have a place.
My goodness, of course, when housing is as much as it is. And so that in and of itself disqualifies so many working class and poorer families who are disproportionately Black and Latino and immigrant families. Then on top of that, the district has been conducting unprecedented home visits where they're visiting students' homes to verify that they live there. And just, I think last year they reported that they did 400 home visits in 1 year. That's more than one visit to a household per day. And I have former Latino students, who were kicked out of the school district and have now been forced to go to school in East Oakland because of these home visits and these residency requirements. I think that's just criminal. I think that's immoral, and it's an affront to this school district that was the first school district to voluntarily desegregate our schools. It flies in the complete opposite direction, and we need to stop that.
And the other incidents that has taken place is that students are being interrogated, your students, and they're going, how is that taking place? What is it, and is it legal?
The school district has been, and it's not clear yet who's been doing it, though I have some guesses on who it is, the personnel who've been doing it, but some district officials have been pulling, I think, almost every single one of my current ELD, English Language Learner students, and some of my former ELD students who are at Berkeley High, requiring that they come into a meeting and answer questions. In some cases, they're completely misleading the students on the nature of the so-called interview, and the students find out that it's actually an interrogation about me. The first group of students, they didn't even notify the parents beforehand, and in fact didn't notify some of the parents till a few days later. In some of the interviews, they asked the students whether or not their parents were born in the United States or what country they were born in, or they asked the students what language their family or their mother spoke, which of course is just an implicit threat of bringing ICE or taking some kind of discriminatory action against the students. And so initially, I think it really scared a lot of the students, and they were really upset because they were also told at the end of the interview that they had to keep the interview a secret and that they couldn't tell anybody, which is really...
Including their parents?
Yes, that was the implication. And so some of the students didn't think they could tell their parents. Of course, told their parents because they were so upset, but it caused all kinds of conflict at home. And, for the students in terms of their own sense of whether they're welcome in our Berkeley public schools.
And isn't that a bit of terrorism? You're threatening the students and interrogating about who they are, where their families are.
Absolutely. I mean, this witch hunt that the district is conducting to try to justify a false and manufactured case against me is being executed in a manner that has taken the form of just plain base racist targeting, racial profiling of immigrant and international students. It's really unacceptable. And
who are these people? Who are these people that are doing this?
I don't know, but from descriptions that the students and parents have given me, it may be one of the personnel director, Evelyn Temendong Bradley, may be one of the people. It's possible that the human resources interim assistant superintendent, Susan Van Thilo, may be one of the other people. And it is possible that the district's outside counsel who they've hired to handle a lot of these cases where the district has tried to bully workers, Marlene Sachs, she's one of their attorneys, may also have been one of the people conducting the interrogations.
So the money, it seems, is being spent on attorneys to bully the teachers and investigate the students, and not on more teachers and getting more students. So it sounds like a contradiction for public education today.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that not only are they spending just unknown quantities of money, wasting that on bullying teachers and school workers, but in the meantime, as part of their retaliation against teachers and support staff who've been supporting me, the school district notified 3 of my coworkers, all who were veteran teachers who've taught at my school for, some of them 30 years, and who've run after school programs to support English language learner students, special education students, and other students with their homework, that despite the fact that they've run these programs for 12 to 20 years, that suddenly there may not be money to pay the teachers to run these programs anymore. I mean, obviously, putting the funding for these programs and for the teachers in jeopardy is nothing but an intentional way to try to bully and chill the free speech of teachers, in this case, to support their colleague, not even to protest the Nazis or the fascists. It's unconscionable.
And the labor movement is under attack, and part of that is also privatization. How is privatization affecting the Berkeley Unified School District and your teaching?
I mean, definitely the school district, just like all school districts, is more dependent on private funding and private money. And the fact that the school district a few years ago tried to take the horrific step of hiring an Eli Broad Foundation superintendent named Edmund Healy, went through the whole process of voting unanimously to sign a contract with him, and only rescinded that after, I'm proud to say I was one of the first people to publicly expose this, and there was just a whole movement in the district to stop that from happening. The fact that they were even considering that means that they're certainly eyeballing funding from foundations run by right-wingers like Eli Broad, funding from, say, billionaires like the guy who runs Microsoft.
Gates.
Yeah. I'm like, what's his name? Gates. And, and others. And so I think...
Zuckerberg.
And Zuckerberg, because now he's trying to...
Facebook. Yeah.
Right, and he's starting to open charter schools. And so it's really crazy because there is money and there are resources in the city of Berkeley, and we've got to fight for that, and for that to be public and publicly accountable funding. And the district ought to be leading the fight against privatization and to fight with the state and the federal government for massive resources and influx in public money for our schools, rather than not only giving into it, but executing the privatization and, in fact, trying to take advantage of it as a way to then starting to censor the rights of teachers and school workers and students too.
And this is a democratic state, a democratic legislature, democratic mayors, democratic party has control. Has there been any support of any politician, democratic politician, in your case?
I'm happy to say that the City of Berkeley Peace and Justice Commission, which is made up of members who are appointed by each city council person and each school board member, voted unanimously last week to support me and to send a letter of concern to the school district, calling on them to return me back to my classroom, and with concerns around my academic freedom and free speech, rights to criticize management, and the rights of the students. I certainly am looking into and would welcome any support from any other politicians that want to take the stand on the right side. At the last school board meeting, not surprisingly, it was one of the student school board members, Alante Keys, who is an elected school board member, I think, to the Berkeley School District Board. He stood up and he supported us at the end of our public comment, and he gave us a standing ovation and walked out of the meeting with us and joined our rally afterwards and signed my petition. So I'm really, really proud that the first official school board member to split with the silence of the current school board and side with justice has been their student school board member, Alante Keys.
And there's also another teacher who was bullied out, Ryan Crowell, and this PAR program that they have, where they supposedly going to help teachers, but a lot of the teachers end up to be African American, Latino, and senior teachers who are then driven out, bullied out of the school. Is there a concern that they're trying to get rid of African American, Latino teachers and even senior teachers in Berkeley Unified School District?
Oh, definitely. I think that this has been an ongoing fight that we've been making. My caucus, Eon BAM, other teachers have been really concerned about the treatment of veteran teachers and veteran Black and Latino and teachers of color. I also think that the attack on veteran teachers isn't just because of the economics or the cost of paying us. I don't think that's really it. I think it's political, because it's just true that when you've been teaching for a long time, we learn things. We become better at what we do. We have more confidence to challenge like false, crazy ideas that the administration might try to promote just to try to get some funding from a foundation or something, right? Or as a PR scheme at the expense of actual good teaching and education. And so I think that certainly the school district the administration is always trying to silence veteran teachers and the knowledge that we bring, because very often what we have to say may contradict some really bad ideas that they might be pushing in the name of standardized testing and privatization.
And there's a great shortage of teachers now in California. Of course, a lot of teachers can't even live in the Bay Area. In fact, workers are being told you can't live here, go someplace else. So the ability of workers to live here. But the shortage of teachers, what's causing the shortage of teachers?
I think that the job is getting a lot harder, and the pay is certainly not, doesn't correspond with the challenges and the demands of the job.
Berkeley teachers can't afford to live in Berkeley.
Right. I also think, kind of connected to your previous question around the Democrats, I think that the last 8 years of the policies under Arne Duncan and then now the new chairperson of the Department of Education under Obama, who's been following the same policy, has been very damaging to public education and then therefore to teachers. I think that the push toward privatization and charter schools and the subsequent increase in racism and segregation, the degradation of then the quality of education that we're even allowed to implement as teachers in our classroom, and how there's more of a push toward just teaching to the test to make us be afraid, right, to really connect with our students and be the best teachers that we can be, has then made the job less palatable and less attractive to new potential teachers who would otherwise want to become teachers. And I feel like that's a part of why I'm making this fight, is because we really have to fight for the future of public education. And that means defending the rights of teachers to be teachers and to teach our students, and defending the best goals of education, which ought to be to empower our students to be leaders in society. And that means taking a stand against racism, taking a stand for integration, standing up for the rights of all people, whatever country we may or may not have been born in. And also really the right to make sure that we are in the forefront as educators and as the schools of being the conscience of the nation, and making sure that people like Donald Trump and his dangerous vision for this nation are not only defeated in the November election, but that are really defeated, and that we can build a movement that really stops any potential growth of a dangerous far right-wing movement.
And also, just recently, the U.S. Department of Education provided $100 million to the KIPP schools in California to build more charter schools. You've got the billionaires, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and the Gates Foundation, and many billionaires, the Fisher family with the Gap Corporation, really having a big effect on education, and in fact running the school board of education, state board of education. The Walton family is on the state board of education, along with other billionaire families. And then you have Proposition 39, which requires school districts to take charters, whether or not they're financially viable, whether or not they segregate, and the NAACP has ruled that they're segregating the schools. The ACLU has ruled that they're cherry picking. Yeah. They're requiring. It sounds like there's a war on public education.
There definitely is, and I think that when we win my fight, which I'm confident that we will win, that I hope that this can be the first of many battles that our side can win in this war. Because what's happening with the privatization of our schools and the ways in which the billionaires are trying to turn public education into their pet project for around things that they know nothing about, but which they're certainly trying to control.
And profit.
And profit off of, that's for sure. I think that since the days of Socrates, education has always been highly politicized. And we have to protect the right of educators and students to be able to have a full, rounded education where they can then make decisions for themselves, the students, to ensure democracy and ensure full rights, so that way we can make this a better society, not one where we go backwards.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for joining us on Workweek Radio, Yvette, and solidarity in your struggle.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Steve.